Hello everybody. Today we are doing What If Naruto, right, had infinite chakra. I might do the whole series tonight, just to be special. Uwu. I do want to point out, guys, this is our 2,000, jeez guys, subscribers special. And thank you guys so much for that. I will be also uploading this video on my next main channel because I have to slowly shift out of my mom's email account, as you'd imagine. And I'll move to my Uchiha What Ifs account. And yeah, I hope you guys can all support that What If channel. And like you've supported this one, help it blossom, and we'll keep on the content. So, this is Kito and Uchiha What Ifs, and let's start the video. Okay, so onto the video. So, we start our What If off when Minato is right next to Kushina as she's giving birth. As that is happening, though, Kushina delivers her baby. Except there's something wrong with him almost. His hair is extremely gray. It's completely gray. But they know he's not a Hotake. So they're like a little worried about that. And as that's happening, Minato and Kushina had been focused on this completely. And Obito, actually, quote-unquote Madara, we'll call him that for now, takes the child and goes to the other side of the room as he puts his hand over the child. As Minato quickly grabs the baby as Madara, we'll just say Obito throws the child in the air as Minato quickly catches the child and looks back at Obito and says, "Who are you?" as he quickly noticed the third's wife and the other nurses and guards had all been taken out by the masked man. And he then looks over to his wife to check if she's okay, and she's gone. As Minato, with his flying Raijin, teleports to the Namikaze compound and lays Naruto down in a crib. And goes through his hair. And then he quickly teleports to one of the many seals he had around the village walls as he sees the 9-tailed fox ravaging through the leaf. As Minato, shocked, quickly runs over. But as he's running over as fast as he can, he appears before Obito, as they then have their fight, similar towards the anime. And yeah, as you'd imagine, Obito still loses, to the Rasengan. As then from that point on, until the sealing process, everything is the same, the exact same from the story. But that's when they change something. When they're sealing, they use just the Reaper Death Seal on Minato. As Minato seals all the fox's chakra into Naruto. He didn't have as much doubt as he did in the anime for the child's survival, because the child hadn't even been crying. He was extremely calm, even under the masked man. And he just felt powerful to Minato. And when he tried to detect Naruto's chakra presence, it was everywhere, almost. There's no place it felt to him where he couldn't feel his son's chakra, which shocked him, but he wasn't going to do anything about that for that moment. As after that fight, he goes over to Kushina and everything else happens. As he seals all of the Nine-Tailed Fox's chakra into young Naruto. They give their dying words to Naruto about getting good friends, making a wife, and having just a good life. And yeah, they both pass away. As the third Hokage, well, the previous Hokage, arrives there shortly after, as he's bewildered by the sight of Kushina and Minato's dead corpses on the ground next to their newly born son, Naruto. As Hiruzen Sarutobi, shocked, quickly runs over to check their pulses, and to his bewilderment, they are dead. And he's incredibly grief-stricken at that moment, because they socialized a lot, and they were close friends. As Hiruzen quickly scoops up the boy in his arms and carries him towards the village. As he quickly arrives to check on his wife, he is shocked at the sight of her corpse in the front of the birthing room that they had gathered at. As Sarutobi collapses to the ground, incredibly grief-stricken, Naruto, who had been dropped onto the ground accidentally, actually catches himself. But by catches himself, I mean slightly covers himself from the damage, but he doesn't cry or anything. His immense chakra had almost created a shield over him. Many, many layers of shields. So, even though they were invisible, you couldn't touch them. But if you tried to hit Naruto, you just couldn't. It may appear that you hit him, but it will do nothing to him. There will appear a white mark around him with a blue outline, and the wound will immediately heal because he has infinite chakra. And it's kind of like the black lightning armor technique with the Raikage, except it's the 100 healing jutsu form. So like a Susanoo that always heals the person. Exactly like that, actually. So, as Hiruzen heard from Minato's dying words to hail Naruto as a hero, but Hiruzen takes those words and tries to support Naruto throughout his first couple of years, but for his first 8 years in this world, they were horrible. And Minato would not have liked what he saw in the slightest. Kushina would have killed him, he would have thought, because Hiruzen sometimes saw the young boy being beaten brutally by the villagers. He tried to stop him, but they were ninjas, so they quickly got away. And Hiruzen was never more disgusted on the day before the academy, when he found young Naruto in an alley with 3 spears on the ground with lots of blood on them. But Naruto was completely fine. He wasn't even crying. He just had a calm expression, as if he had no emotion anymore. He'd learned to expect things, but Hiruzen had never saw any tint of emotion from young Naruto. Even things Naruto liked, he appeared as if from the youngest of ages. He'd already been through 20 years of the Anbu training from Danzo. As Hiruzen even asked about it sometimes, Danzo denied any obligations of contact with the boy. And yeah, he couldn't prove it either because Naruto's physical strength wasn't improved. It stayed the same brittle form. On the first day of the academy, he walked in there and everyone was kind of shocked, like, isn't that the kid that our parents told us never to talk to? Because the villagers were very hateful towards Naruto. And Sasuke, who hadn't been through the Uchiha massacre yet, had walked up to him and tried to socialize. But, now Naruto didn't go with him well. It was kind of if Sasuke, before the Uchiha massacre, met Sasuke right after the Uchiha massacre. Except Naruto had no trauma. He remembered, what do I mean no trauma? He remembered everything that happens. He remembers everything that's ever happened in his life. He has an incredible memory. But from that night he was born, he hates his incredible memory. And from all the beatings he's got from the villagers. And the conversation didn't go too well, but Sasuke tried making friends with Naruto, which didn't work because his severe trust issues to Sasuke. Because even if Mikoto really wanted to adopt Naruto, the Leaf Elders wouldn't permit it, because they would have thought that the already suspicious Uchihas would try to pull off a coup and slowly train up the young Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox, the strongest of all nine-tailed beasts, as a weapon of mass destruction and take over all of the Leaf Village. Because in the Leaf Elders' eyes, it already seemed they had to. On that very night, they lost their Hokage and his wife. And their demon child was born from that night. And they thought it was the Nine Tails reincarnate, because everyone believed from that night, instead of being sealed, the nine-tailed fox had been killed by their young Hokage. And he hadn't. He'd just been sealed inside of a very, very hurt on the inside boy. And his year wasn't that bad. But whenever they tried jutsus, he could immediately do ones that required a certain amount of chakra without a limit. But the clone jutsu, which you had to have great chakra control and not too much, he couldn't make anything. No puffs of clouds even. Nothing. Because you can't put an endless amount of something into something that you need to have a small amount of. So, he couldn't. Rock Lee, who was his classmate, even hung out with Naruto because he'd felt the pain of not being able to do any of those. But Naruto was extremely efficient in genjutsu when they learned about it and tried it too. While some students couldn't even detect a genjutsu, yet alone do it at that young age of 8 years old, Naruto had been a master of it, which even almost rivaled Kurenai. Well, at least that's what most of the girls thought, because Naruto had been really good at it, at least everything that was taught in the academy. He was a straight-A student, never goofed off. He didn't care about the attention at all. He was a straight-A student. Iruka really enjoyed having a student like that. He was far better than Sasuke. But one night, the next day at school, Naruto walked in and saw a huge lump of girls surrounding one desk, as they were all saying their condolences to the young Uchiha he'd met several times. As Naruto walked up to them and said, "What's this about?" As Sasuke looks at him and says, "Don't talk to me, loser." As Naruto said, "I just wanted to know what happened." As one of the girls says, his entire clan got massacred by his brother. and he was forced to relive it in a genjutsu. At least that's what my father told me. As Naruto, shocked, just walks away and says, I can't help him through that. As he says that in his head as he walks away. And his year was pretty good through there. But on his first try at the graduation exam, at the rightful young age of 8, he passes easily the Rin test. With the transformation jutsu, he does that quite easily. Turns into Iruka Sensei. And as Mizuki and everybody else was awaiting the next jutsu, he quickly does the substitution jutsu, no problem, with a spare chair that had been left in the room. And as he fails the clone jutsu, because he just simply can't do it, Iruka walks up to him and gives him his headband. Because I believe as Iruka goes up to him, he says, well, Naruto, I know about what's inside you. Don't take that the wrong way. You're a very important kid, Naruto. But you have so much chakra that it is impossible it is quite literally impossible for you to make a normal clone jutsu. So, my condolences. Here is your headband. As everybody else went through the exam, the young Uchiha, determined to pass it, barely does. He gets a B- on the test because you were supposed to learn everything through 4 years, but Naruto, who only had mere 1 week crash courses of something, remembered it all. So he got an A+. And Sasuke, without an incredible memory, got a B-, barely passing. But he did every other thing quite well, except the clone jutsu he could only do 2 at. And he did perfect, though, on the other 2, because they were quite easy to him. They came simply naturally. And with a barely passing score of 101 out of 200, and you fail if you get a 100, Iruka begrudgingly gave the young Uchiha his headband. And I'm pretty sure at the age of 6, Itachi graduated, so Sasuke was at least happy to be a little close to his brother in how fast his growth was, so he could eventually take his brother down. And at that time, nobody except one of the young Hyugas had passed that exam, along with a child called Rock Lee, because his taijutsu skills were so incredibly excellent to the examiners that they just couldn't help but pass him. He even got a B on the test, so he was considered to do fine. Along with the young Hyuga being Neji, because, yeah, he was quite exceptional. And I do understand this is 4 years before they all originally graduate, but I'll be giving a little buff to these 3 other characters. And seeing that class only had 4 graduates, they'd all be put into one team, but with 2 Jonin senseis. So they put Maito Gai and Kakashi Hatake under the team. And they really were happy to have 2 teachers too. And Naruto, showed a little amusement in this, but he was quite happy at the same time. And Sasuke, not caring, but also was kind of excited for Maito Guy's teaching, along with what Naruto told him of the copy ninja of the Sharingan, Hatake Kakashi. And he was happy to maybe meet a possible member of his clan, but he would be later disappointed to find out his name was Hatake Kakashi, which he had forgotten during the entire explanation. And Naruto was looking forward to it all. One day, before the teams were assigned, Naruto was walking in the streets toward his house before Mizuki-sensei says, "Wait, it took so long to catch up to you, Naruto. Please, you're the last one that has to do this." Well, there is a fifth part of our exam called the spy phase. You have to steal the scroll of sealing from the Hokage's office. As Naruto asks, "Why is that?" As Mizuki says, "Well, you want that headband, don't you?" As Naruto thinks about it, he'd be 2 out of 5, and you have to have majority to pass. So he thinks to himself, fine. Wait, no. He'd be 3 out of 5. But he thinks that he forgot the fact that he'd done perfectly on the test. So he assumes he has to do it, as he quickly speeds towards the Hokage's office. But at that same time, Hiruzen could sense him, but he wanted to see how this would go, because he had already had tons of Anbu around the entirety of the village, and lots of Chunin ninja at the same time, and because they did not want to lose that scroll because of Hiruzen's spectating. So as Naruto quickly takes it and speeds towards Mizuki-sensei, where he told him to meet in the woods, Naruto, while he's waiting, after he'd gone there, opens up the scroll to see tons of jutsus. As he read through them, he noticed most of them would cost a life, like the Reaper Death Seal and a couple others. And then 2 of them catches his eye. A jutsu called the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Actually, as he's reading that one, he notices one right next to it called Impure World Reincarnation Jutsu, as he writes it down on a scroll he'd been holding onto for a long time, as he'd written everything about the 2, and then on the back of that scroll wrote down a clone jutsu, so he could actually use clones. So, as he puts that scroll away, Mizuki-sensei appears. And after their entire conversation about his betrayal and Naruto's burden, Naruto, incredibly shocked, actually accesses a little bit of the fox's chakra. But as the 2 fox ears appear on above his head, 2 white horns, of hair, almost go to his left and right of his head. Also, right behind the fox ears, there also appeared to be massive horns, 2 of them to be precise, kind of like Kaguya Otsutsuki's horns. As Naruto, his strength incredibly increases as he immediately hits Mitsuki without realizing it. As the elbow connects with his ribcage, Mizuki immediately gets sent far away. He can't even see him anymore. In fact, he'd gone straight through the wall of the village, and he'd shattered all of his entire ribcage and ruptured a couple organs, killing the young Chunin, the traitorous one, though. And Naruto, who was quite shocked about his appearance of power, just glances at his hands before his chakra cloak and horns dissipate into his head. But before that happens, the two big horns revert into small horns at where they were on his chakra cloak. So Naruto, quite excited about his new development of power, walks back to the village. As he saw Iruka Sensei running through the trees, he just tossed the scroll to him, and from what he knew, used a Shunshin jutsu, but it had only got him back to where he was when he met Mitsuki Sensei, because he saw one of the Jonin do it, and he copied him. And since he easily has enough chakra to do it, he did it. As he gets there, he takes a long rest after that. And with his scroll, about 5 hours before school, he starts practicing the jutsus. And in a matter of 5 minutes, he basically masters the multi-shadow clone jutsu technique. And that jutsu is incredibly useful, he had appeared to find out, as he was incredibly excited that he could use a clone jutsu after he shook hands with one of his clones and it dissipated. He then starts working on the flying Raijin jutsu. After he'd started using it, Hiruzen comes to his house and says, "Well, my boy, I've seen what you've been doing. As much as I don't want you to be learning this stuff at such a young age and such a low rank, here," as he had given him a big box of kunai, it looked like, as Naruto took them all in without any effort with the massive box, because he was incredibly physically gifted, even if it didn't look like it. Because he put a genjutsu on himself, well, at least to the people around him, to make his arms and physical appearance look weak, almost. Just about Sasuke's level. And Naruto opened the pouch and then realized that these jutsus, these kunai, were perfect, absolutely perfect for his flying Raijin jutsu that he had learned from the scroll. As he starts using it, he throws a kunai at the wall, and as it bounces off, he quickly puts chakra into the seal, and it teleports him right there. As Naruto's incredibly shocked and says, "Oh my gosh, that'll help incredibly much." As he opens up his kunai pouch, dumps half of them out, and replaces them all for flying Raijin kunais. And then, after that, he looks at the last jutsu he had written down, the Impure World Reincarnation Technique. And this wasn't the perfect Edo Tensei, but it was the rough version that it got stuff done. It killed the third Hokage, so. But the one that he'd written down, we'll say, just for plot convenience, was much better than the perfect Edo Tensei jutsu. Though it had the drawback of no human sacrifices needed, it restored the revived applicants to 90% of their power. Unlike the normal Edo Tensei that only did, I'd guess, around 60 or maybe even 40, and the perfect Edo Tensei doing around 85 something. So this was a much better form without human sacrifices either. As he does this, he revives a grandpa and just says to, like, go do the flowers outside, and the grandpa does that and disappears. Well, crumbles almost into the wind, as he's incredibly surprised by that. And yes, that's how it goes. And to him, he had mastered the technique. And he then noticed he was almost 2 hours late, as he's shocked and quickly runs over there. And as he arrives, he sees one of his senseis right there next to him, as Kakashi says, "Oh, I see you're also late. Happy I have a twin." As he also looks at Izuku's grayish hair. And be right back, guys. Okay, people. Continuing on, yeah, I said Naruto. I mean Izuku, I realize. And yeah, I meant to say Naruto. He quickly arrives with his Jonin sensei to a very angry Maito guy, along with the 3 others, as Sakura and Maito guy berate him for his tardiness, along with Kakashi. Kakashi tells them all to go up to the roof, as Izuku... I was that close. Naruto, who had placed the Flying Raijin seal on his sensei, because he had a seal and he had the kunai to use it. So he did that as Kakashi uses his Kage Bunshin technique, which I forget what it's called. It's the... I said it in English and then I say it in Japanese. What am I doing here? I forget what it's called. But it's the teleport one. Okay. So, as Kakashi and Naruto are the first ones up there, Maito guy immediately is with Lee as they rush over there, along with Sasuke and Sakura behind them. Wait, no, Neji. Change everything I said about Sakura now. Neji berated him, and Neji is behind my guy. So, as they all meet with Kakashi, quite surprised that he also had the Kage Bunshin. Kage Bunshin means shadow clone. Ouch. Well, the teleport jutsu. If you guys remember what it is, please put that in the comments, I beg you. As Kakashi asks everybody what their likes, dislikes, and dreams were. As Rock Lee tells the group first, "My name is Rock Lee, and I would just like to say, I want to earn everybody's respect and become the fifth Hokage, as I will be the master of taijutsu and prove to everybody I don't need anything else, just my hands and feet to win." As Kakashi says, "Interesting." As Neji talks about destiny, and Sasuke gives his same speech about revenge against a certain somebody, and it was quite obvious. As Naruto, it's his turn, and it says, "My likes? I guess meeting with the people who like to talk to me. My dislikes? People who attempt to be mean to me without any given reason. And my dreams or goals, I don't really have any. I guess I'd like to get stronger to protect the ones that trust me with their lives." As Might Guy then quickly gives his response. And Kakashi gives his half-assed response at that same time. And as Kakashi says, well, my first impression of this team, promising. As he had noted down that they have 2 dojutsus in their arsenal. Well, 1 and 2 up and coming, possibly. As there was Neji's Byakugan and Sasuke's Sharingan. Along with his Sharingan and their Rock Lee and Might Guy's 8 gates. And Naruto was just there with his 9 tails, which was technically a dojutsu on par with maybe the Tensegan. Most certainly the Tensegan. And with 100... No, same words. Even with 100%. When he fought the guy in the last, he did have 100%. Anyway, we continue on as Naruto and everybody go home after that, because the next day they would be having a survival test, because that's what Kakashi and Might Guy told them. Because, yeah. So, when everybody arrived there on time, Might Guy was already there waiting for them, and they had to wait 2.5 hours to meet their second sensei, Kakashi Hatake. And after they were all quite sad that he'd been oh so late, Kakashi started explaining the test, as he gave 1 bell to Guy, as Might Guy put the bell on his waist, and Kakashi put 2 on his. Kakashi said, students, you will all have to collect these bells off of our waists. As you can imagine, you should preferably use teamwork, as one of you will be going back to the academy, possibly for their next year, because you failed. As you can see, there's 3 bells, 4 of you. 3 will pass, possibly. 1, no matter what, shall not. As Might Guy coughed as he said, no matter what. As Kakashi says, 3, 2, 1, go. As the entire group goes into the woods. And Naruto had even learned to suppress his chakra presence a lot, because everybody could sense his. He hadn't learned it fully, but only around, if you were 5 feet around him, you could feel his immense chakra. And he even got rid of the genjutsu that was taxing around 2% of his chakra, which he hadn't realized was literally infinity. And sometimes when Neji tried to look at his chakra coils, there was too much. Like, let's say there was a remote, and around the remote, besides from the bottom of it and the top of it, there was a small blue rod. And with, say, Sasuke's rod, it had more blue around it, say, like compared to fat on a human. And Naruto's, you couldn't see anything. His entire body was blue to Neji, and Neji couldn't understand it in the slightest, because he didn't know that Naruto literally had infinite chakra. He'd never run out, which is why he seemed to be the best ever at endurance training, because he couldn't run out. And, well, because he also usually put chakra into his feet for it. So, as Kakashi and Might Guy wait in the field as they start some small talk, and Kakashi begrudgingly does because he wanted to read his book, Naruto, Neji, Sasuke, and Rock Lee actually all approach them together. As Naruto looks over to Rock Lee and Neji says, "You two have Hadake. Me and Sasuke, we will have Might Guy. Because Lee, your teacher obviously knows your fighting style. Along with Neji, he may be best at taijutsu, but you are too, so that could be probably worse. And since me and Sasuke are good at everything, more so, we'll be taking opposite targets. So, go." As their short little conversation quickly ended, Might Guy was quickly on the offensive towards the young Uchiha. As Sasuke quickly kicks back Might Guy's hand and fires up a fireball jutsu. As Naruto uses his flying Raijin to go behind Sasuke with a fan he had bought recently that day for plot convenience. Uses the fan, which was the equivalent to Tamari's. He quickly bats it quickly at Sasuke's fire. As Sasuke looks around angered at Naruto, he realizes the fire had gone much bigger after that gust of wind. Because Naruto wanted to be a good teammate to Sasuke, knowing what he's been through. And since he felt they had such a deep response to each other, Might Guy, just like so happy about their teamwork, gets hit by the flame and quickly gets out of the way and plays unconscious as Naruto quickly kicks the bell up into the air and catches it as he ties it onto his waist and into his pocket. As Kakashi was dealing with the taijutsu masters, basically, to him. As Rock Lee opens his first gate. And, that it got a little tougher for Kakashi, but nothing too hard. As he was quickly bewildered at the sight of 100 shadow clones of Naruto running at him. As Kakashi looks at Guy to see him playing unconscious at a tree. As Kakashi steps back and uses Great Fireball Jutsu. As he steps back and uses the technique. As Naruto fans it away from him. As Sasuke uses a Fireball Jutsu, enhanced by Naruto's wind, to overpower Kakashi's. And as Kakashi is right in front of the massive flame, he notices behind him was Neji, along with Rock Lee holding him in place. As Neji uses his 8 trigrams, 128 palm strikes, as he continues to take off the chakra points of Kakashi, as Kakashi falls to the ground, and Rock Lee roundhouse kicks him in the face, as the both of them quickly get out of the way after doing their attacks, and the fireball hits Kakashi. As Kakashi actually lets it happen because he'd actually been hurt, he gets off of the fire with a water prison around himself as he gets out of it and says, "That hurt," as he falls to the ground legitimately unconscious. As Neji and Lee take the bells, as Sasuke just stands back and says, "No, give me the bells," as he quickly runs to Lee. As Might Guy says, "Hold up, youngster. This training exercise was about teamwork. So, before Kakashi can wake up, I will congratulate you all on your victory. You all passed the exam." As Might Guy gives a big thumbs up to everybody. As Naruto says, "Oh, is that so? Thank you so much, Mr. Guy." As everyone is happy about their newfound official Genin status, even after being declared Genin. And yeah, everybody, that is where I'll be leaving off on this story of what if Naruto had infinite chakra. Part 1. So, yeah, this is where we'll be leaving off for this part. This is Kito and Uchiha What Ifs signing off. Goodbye, everybody.